Welcome back to another episode of Bill-less BSing Sports. Here with me, as always nowadays, I guess, is Tim. And not with us, unfortunately, is Bill, as he is behind enemy lines for Cowboys week. We will obviously get more into that in our Week 6 preview show, but this is our Week 5 recap show. Tim, how you feeling after getting a little spanked up this week?
Man, I won 7-9. I did terrible. I lost a double point bet.
Let me just drop that Cowboys gear in your Amazon cart now, buddy.
You might as well get some Stacy the ranks at this point. Shit.
Hey, it's still early. It's still early.
Games. Making my comeback. Don't call it a comeback.
It's still early. It's still very early. So, today we're obviously going to touch on the Week 5 recap, as I already mentioned. And we're, the Phillies won. Might have given us a little bit of a scare in the ninth, so that's something that we'll have to touch on as well. We'll do that later toward the end of the show. But, Tim, I guess we're just going to kick it right off with our first game. We already did the Broncos and Colts. That was a terrible football game.
Absolutely terrible.
The Packers and Giants. Are the Giants legit here? Because we all picked the Packers, and the Giants kind of looked like the better football team.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that. The Giants absolutely look like a better football team. They got Saquon going. Saquon looking like the 2016 draft pick Saquon, whenever he was drafted. Daniel Jones is making the big time key decisions. Where he wants to throw the ball, he's not pushing it into double coverage. If you don't like a read, he throws it out of bounds. He's not taking big sacks anymore. Daniel Jones improved his game, and that had a lot to do with the coaching, man. Absolutely had a lot to do with the coaching.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think coaching can overcome a team's flaws to a certain extent. Like, I'm not going to sit here and bet on the Giants to win the Super Bowl. I just genuinely don't think that there's enough talent on that roster. But the defense is playing well enough to keep them in games, and Brian Daboll has completely changed the offense. From the show, so that's that. Yeah, man, Brian Daboll has totally changed that offense and that team's culture around, and that's it. Coaching makes all the difference in the world.
Doug Peterson did with the 2017 Eagles.
Yeah, or look what he's doing with the 2022 Jaguars. They look like a good football team. I know they just lost, but we'll get in that in a little bit later. Falcons versus Buccaneers. This was a game that we all picked the Buccaneers. That was kind of an obvious decision. But this game was not what I thought it would be at all. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. Can we talk about the roughing and passer call on Tom Brady?
Yep.
That is the worst damn call I've seen in months, years. Like, oh my goodness.
I'm gonna disagree with that, and here's why. When Tua got dragged down in the same exact manner Tom Brady got dragged down, why did we say Tua hurt himself? Because he's not Tom Brady. Tom Brady knows how to get tackled. He knows how to brace for a fall. That the way that Tom Brady got brought down was consistent and in the same exact manner that Tua just smacked his head on the turf. And as an NFL referee who is now getting preached to, hey, you have to look out for this because one of these dudes just got knocked out stone cold on the field because of it, you're going to throw the flag. It's a week later from that incident. It was the same exact form tackle. The only difference is Brady knows how to brace himself. So while it looks like crap to us, you got to think about it from the referee's point of view. Like, hey, they are on my ass to make this call. Like, this was exactly how Tua just got himself hurt. So if the same thing happened to Tom Brady and I don't throw the flag, then what? So I agree with the way that I agree with the flag being thrown because of the way that he was brought down, and the timing of it is unfortunate, but it is what it is at this point. So
my big thing is Patrick Mahomes got tackled like that yesterday, got thrown down to the ground, no flag.
Yep. There's going to be some consistency issues with it.
Yeah.
But for those of you that think Tom Brady gets a bunch of calls, he is 16th in the league in It's in the last 10 years, I think the number was. He's 16th in the league in roughing the passer calls against him. So since 2012, Brady's played 235 games and has 27 roughing the passer calls against him. Rodgers has played 216 and he has one more at 28. Patrick Mahomes has played 79 games and he's at 20 roughing the passer calls, and Josh Allen's at 73 games and he has 24. So Tom Brady's not getting any sort of special treatment by any means necessary, maybe in the last couple years or so, but you're seeing a spike in calls around the league in general. There's no special treatment given to Tom Brady. For those of you that think that, that's a bogus thought. You just hate Tom Brady.
I think a couple of those roughing the passer calls on Mahomes and Josh Allen, it's because they were sliding and got hit in the head.
That's not roughing the passer. That's a late hit. Those are two separate penalties.
Okay. Okay, you're right. Okay.
But yeah, I think Brady doesn't get more calls than anybody else. That's bogus. People they're using their confirmation bias because they already believe Tom Brady gets more calls, so they just assume that every time Tom Brady gets a roughing the passer called for him, they're like, oh, he gets all the calls. It's just confirmation bias. People aren't actually paying attention to what's going on around the league. A lot of comments about the Derek Carr thing. We will get into that when we cover the Monday night game, which was the best primetime game this year. Look at that. We actually had a good primetime game this year. Moving on from that Buccaneers game, Bears versus Vikings. Vikings took care of business there. All three of us got that one right. However, Justin Fields actually had a pretty decent day, I guess, so maybe he's finally turning a corner.
I agree with that, but he's still got something more. He's not making the right reads and passing. Like you actually, you texted this in a group about Darnell Mooney making that great catch. Your first thought was a bad pass, and then Darnell Mooney made that one-handed catch somehow, some way, and it was a great catch, but it was a terrible pass on Justin Fields.
Oh yeah, he could have hit him in stride. He was open enough.
Exactly. That could have been easily a touchdown pass, but he had to stop, turn around, turn his whole body around and catch him with one hand over the defender.
Go full Odell Beckham on him.
Yeah, I think the Bears really need to get him a quarterback coach. He has the talent, I think. They need a better quarterback coach or something like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Justin Fields' career, he's going to go down as another Ohio State bust, and I don't think that that's fair. I think that if we add some context to the situation, you hit the nail on the head. The Bears just don't care about his career. They haven't given him a number one wide receiver. I know there were some Darnell Mooney truthers out there before the season started. The fact of the matter is, outside of Tyreek Hill, there's very rarely, if ever, a 5'8", 180-pound wide receiver one in the NFL. That's just not the prototypical X receiver. That's not really how that works. And what do? They go out and hire an offensive coordinator nobody's ever heard of and hire a defensive-minded coach from a defense that, quite frankly, wasn't very good last year. So to me, I think the Bears are doing him a huge disservice, and I think it's very unfair to say Justin Fields' career is going downhill strictly because of him. If you look at the coaching turnaround Daniel Jones has with Brian Daboll, you could see something similar like that with Justin Fields.
Yep.
But, I mean, Justin Jefferson absolutely torched that defense. I think he had 8 catches for 130 yards in the first half. I mean, I think he caught 5 balls on the first 2 drives. He was just open zones, man. He was everywhere, and it looked like Kevin O'Connell finally started utilizing Justin Jefferson in the way that he utilized Kupp last year in L.A. to scheme him open. It finally looked like the Vikings offense we thought it would be.
Don't get me wrong, the Bears made a great halftime adjustment, shutting down Justin Jefferson in the second half until the 2-point conversion, I think. He had a couple passes here and there, but nothing too big.
Then they got cooked by Dalvin.
Yeah, they finally used Dalvin Cook in the right way. Hand him the ball, let him get free. Throw him the ball, let him get free. Timothy Hawkins, Kirk Cousins did go 17 for 17 for 17 passes, but eventually he finished off with 10 missed passes, something like that at the end of the game.
Yeah, I don't remember what Kirk Cousins' numbers were in the box score, but yeah, he did start off his first 17 passes. I think it set a Vikings record, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think 10 of them were to Justin Jefferson, to be honest.
Yeah, most of them probably were. Moving on from that game, Lions and Patriots. All three of us picked the Lions despite no DeAndre Swift or Amon-Ra St. Brown. And the Patriots came out and they oddly, kind of put a beat down on the Lions behind Bailey. If you're Zappy and you know it, clap your hands. So, Tim, what did you make of this game?
I made of this that the Lions defense is absolutely trash.
We already knew that going into this game.
Zappy had a nice little game for them. Very underrated wide receiver in fantasy. Jacoby Myers is finally getting more targets and getting more touchdowns, and he's being very underrated still. A lot of people don't like him because of the Patriots. They don't have like a true number one and stuff like that. But that's a good wide receiver too, right there, getting all these passes in PPR formats. But it looked like the running backs had a good game until
Harris got hurt,
and then Stevenson broke out for like 130 yards, a touchdown, and caught a couple passes, something like that. Timothy Hawkins said it right there. Patriots defense came to play, and they definitely did. I think the Patriots defense is a little bit underrated, in my opinion. They always seem to find the right plays when they need them. You know what I mean?
I think they have good coaching. I think Bill Belichick, for years has done a good job, coaching the defense. That's his specialty, the defensive side of the ball. I don't think that they're a talented defense by any means necessary. They don't have the playmakers they once had on that side of the ball. But this was just a game where the Lions, for the first time in the Dan Campbell era, really looked unprepared. I mean, they just looked like they had no answer for the game plan that the Patriots came out and played with on either side of the ball. Now, as you alluded to, Detroit's defense looked terrible. I mean, they look terrible every week, so I'm not really concerned about that. But the offense just could not keep up with the way that we're used to seeing them keep up this week. So I think this is a bit of a slip up for them. But I think once they come back from the bye here this week, Swift gets healthy, Amon-Ra St. Brown gets healthy. Maybe we'll see Jameson Williams in a couple weeks. I think that the offense will be fine, but the defense is just going to remain terrible for the season. They'll lose them a bunch of games. It is what it is at this point. Texans versus Jaguars, man. I knew I should have went with my Texans, man. They were so close a couple times, and then the Jaguars just look like a good team, but not this past week. They look pretty bad.
The Houston Texans came to play.
Damian Pierce had himself a game too.
Yes. Back-to-back weeks had himself a game.
Yeah.
It looked like he's going to be the true number one in Houston for a little bit. David Mills had a game-winning drive, which was pretty good. No big mistakes that I saw from him. But Trevor Lawrence, man, he got to hold on to that ball. He's having ball issues, and I don't know why all of a sudden. But it looked like if he hyper-targets Christian Kirk, and you can see, because when he's not open, he don't really look anywhere else and see, like, you know what I mean? Like, he had other wide receivers that can get open, but then the game plan is for Christian Kirk and the running backs.
I disagree with that. Couple different things. One, Damian. I'll start out with the Texans first. Yeah, Damian Pierce had himself a great game. I thoroughly believe Damian Pierce getting drafted in the 4th round was a slight mistake. I think that he was more so screwed in college than anything. Dan Mullen didn't play him the way that he should have. There was no problem with Damian Pierce's talent, but for some reason he was always either splitting carries or playing second fiddle to some other running back there. And it cost Dan Mullen his job and Damian Pierce some draft capital. But I think Damian Pierce is finally showing, given the reins, that he is the talented running back. I do think he'll have some hiccups along the way because he is a rookie, but I think that we can expect more of these high-touch games from Damian Pierce moving forward. And you said Trevor Lawrence hyper-targets Christian Kirk. Marvin Jones led the team in targets this week. Christian Kirk was non-existent. He had 1 catch for 11 yards on 3 targets. And that was actually my biggest concern with Christian Kirk, is that he's not, again, a true X receiver. He's a small slot guy, and I just don't think that he's, over the course of the season, going to garner so many targets. The slot receivers, the smaller guys, just aren't designed to do stuff like that. There's very few and far in between of them. So, I mean, Marvin Jones had himself a good game, 7 catches for 104 yards. ETN finally got 114 yards on 14 touches. So he finally had a huge breakout game, made some big plays, and it looks like the Jags are finally moving on from James Robinson. He was very little involved, and it could be because they were in a tight game and they didn't have a big lead like they had the first couple weeks. And I said this to somebody else. I don't think if you just look at the numbers, you're like, cool, James Robinson's making a bounce back from his Achilles tear. If you take away his 150-yard rushing touchdown, he's averaging 3.6 yards a carry. That's not good production in the NFL. That's not starter worthy. And quite frankly, if you look at James Robinson, he still looks a little slow. He still doesn't look like he's hitting his holes as hard as he can. And if you just watch the eye test, he's not all the way there. That's my opinion on that. So Mark Larazowitz asks us a question. He says, hello, I'm 0-5 in a PPR league. Join the club, man. I need help. My wide receivers are Amon-Ra, Marquise, and Metcalf. My running backs are Kamara and Connor. My tight end is Darren Waller. My flex is Dobbins, and QB is Jacoby Brissett. What should I do? Okay, well, your wide receivers are solid. Marquise Brown's currently the 6th wide receiver in PPR formats. James Conner's a huge bust. He was one of my top fades coming into the season. He was very touchdown, dependent on his fantasy production last year. You knew he wasn't going to repeat 18 touchdowns in the season. Darren Waller, you're just going to kind of have to ride out with him. I don't know what his injury status is. I haven't seen any updates. I don't know if he's going to miss, multiple weeks or whatever the case is. Your team going into the year would have had a lot of high expectations, but Dobbins being your flex, Brissett at your quarterback. And I'm a big Dobbins guy, but in Dynasty, because I don't expect much from him until late in the season or next year. But I think if you can deal Amon-Ra for 2 usable pieces, maybe maybe Kareem Hunt and another wide receiver, mid-tier wide receiver kind of guy, that's probably where I would go with that. Or Marquise Brown even, because he'll take a slight dip in production when DeAndre Hopkins comes back. But I would look to get one of those mid running backs to help stabilize your team, as well as probably another wide receiver. Tim?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Ryan. Kind of been a big boss. I have him in, I think, 2 leagues, and I've been trying to trade him anywhere I could. But I'm a little bit high on Connor still, and he's injured now. He might not play next week. Darren Waller, he sat out from the first 2 plays of the game all the way until the end. He didn't. At halftime he got undressed and didn't come back out and suited up. And they're on a bye week this week. I would try to sell Darren Waller, to be honest, and maybe Metcalf and try to get like a better running back for Connor and a medium tier like Jacoby Myers, like I just said, or something like that in that area.
I would look on your waivers for a better quarterback too. Obviously, Jacoby Brissett isn't going to be a starter all year, so I would definitely look elsewhere for a QB. I mean, you can stream QBs, especially this year, because there's some weird QBs going off from week to week. I mean, you got guys like Cooper Rush, Jacoby Brissett, who had a good start to the year. There's just random. I mean, Jared Goff was a top 10 quarterback. There's a lot of weird, quarterbacks being played out. You could go Dalton while Winston's out. There's plenty of quarterbacks out there. So I'll check your waiver wire for a different quarterback too.
Even Carson Wentz is doing pretty decent fantasy perspective. I think he's quarterback 11 right now.
Yeah, hate him all you want in real life. In fantasy, the only thing that matters is points, and Carson Wentz gets you points.
So yeah, definitely try to upgrade the quarterback somewhere else.
Good question, Mark. Don't forget, tune in tomorrow if you like and subscribe.
Oh, that is tomorrow.
Yeah, that is tomorrow. So if you tune in tomorrow, we have our fantasy show, Tim and I. Good question again, Mark. Thanks for the question. Chargers versus Browns. We all got this one right. Chargers came out with some fire underneath of them, and they just played a great game. Austin Eckler looks like he's finally a part of the offense again. Went off, dude. He just absolutely went. And Mike Williams, filling in for the role of wide receiver 1 while Keenan Allen is out.
Can we talk about that play call on 4th and 2 in the 4th quarter with, I think, a minute left in the game?
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you punt?
Talk about whatever you want, dude.
Why wouldn't you
want to listen?
Obviously, but why wouldn't you punt that? I would have punted, sent them back farther. I think it was 4th and 2 on 46. and they were trying to like seal the deal with a run play and the pass play to Mike Williams that was incomplete. Why wouldn't you punt? I would have punted that if they sent them back to like the 20 or something.
I just think that that's the way that the NFL is kind of evolving. I probably would have punted there too, had some faith in my defense a little bit, because you know that they're in that situation. They can't, just run the ball all over you with Nick Chubb like they would, in any other scenario. But with less than a minute left at that point, they probably would have had to have relied on Jacoby Brissett to get them down the field. Be honest with you, I think the NFL is just evolving. I think a lot of fourth and shorts, anything past your own 45-yard line, teams are just going to start going for it.
Okay.
I think with the amount of high-scoring games that we see anymore, with the way that offense has become the focal point of the NFL, you're just going to see teams try and hold on to the ball and win that time of possession battle.
Yeah, I like that take. Other than you said Austin Eckler went off, we can't forget about Nick Chubb. He kind of went off too. He had over 100 yards and a touchdown, 2 touchdowns actually. And to be honest, he's the one that really kept me in the game against you with Josh Allen, Austin Eckler, that's Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about that Bills game. That was insane. That had a wild start to it. But
who's running back 1 right now? Because Nick Chubb's running back 2.
Saquon, if I had to guess, but I'll look into that in a second. So we got Dolphins, Jets. God damn it. I'm so glad he's not on the show this week, dude.
We gotta say that, don't we?
Yeah, no, and in all fairness, I think it would have been a good game anyway, but Skylar Thompson having to come in on the first drive when he was prepared to be the backup, got no starter team reps later. The Miami offense just couldn't move the ball. I mean, they don't have the running game to support, a third string quarterback coming in like that. That was just a disaster. So the Jets are a good team, man. Michael Carter and Breece Hall form arguably a top 5, if not a top 3 formidable duo of running backs in the NFL right now between Breece Hall and Michael Carter.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. Breece Hall went for over 200 yards and shy of 2 yards for 2 touchdowns that got to Michael Carter, and Saquon Barkley is running back number 3.
RB1 is Austin Eckler, actually.
Is he?
Yep.
Yeah. By how many points, do you know? Or?
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay, it got to be close. But
it's by 1.7 points.
I knew it would be close. But at those 2 good games, he had back-to-back with 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, Chubb's actually number 1 in standard formats. That doesn't surprise me in the slightest. But yeah, he's number 2 in PPR.
Okay. We're talking about the Jets, right? Zach Wilson made some right decisions.
Dude, Zach Wilson looks good, man. Zach Wilson looks exactly like I thought he would look.
I regret trading him so many times.
But I traded him back to you, didn't I? No, I traded him to other Tim.
No. You traded him to me. You traded him to me, and then I traded him to Garrett for DeAndre Swift. No, for Breece Hall, actually, in a Swift package.
Oh, then you should be fine, dude. Who cares?
Yeah, you're right.
I did trade. I took Marquise Brown from you, so yeah, I'm happy with that. Marquise Brown is like wide receiver 7. I don't really care. Yeah, no, Zach Wilson looks really good. He made a lot of improvements from the Steelers game. I know the Steelers game was his first game back. Did some things wrong, did some things right, but he managed the game really well. He got the ball to the people that he needed to get the ball to, and that he's just playing good football right now. Elijah Moore is still not yet to be existent in that offense. It's a little concerning for me, but that just means that this offense can be even more explosive on a regular basis once they start getting Elijah Moore more involved.
Because I know that Garrett Wilson didn't get that many targets either.
Breece Hall's eating them all up, dude. We all thought Michael Carter was going to be the pass catching back. Turns out Breece Hall is just out here stealing all the targets away.
70 plus yards.
He had 2 70-plus yard plays and then get a touchdown for either of them. Michael Carter snagged them from the 1 yard line. That's interesting that they're using Michael Carter in like that power formation.
Yeah, because he goes the tackles, not right up the middle. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, we're talking about – I know we're going to go over this tomorrow in the fantasy show. I mean, Brees Hall has 29 targets in 5 games. He's averaging 6 targets a game. That's pretty good, especially for a rookie.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Jets offense looks like, they're even better. And Corey Davis is just out here eating away at everybody's targets. They're an explosive offense. And the big question mark for them always coming into the season, and we talked about in our preseason show, was Zach Wilson. I mean, it was all on him, kind of like a Jared Goff. You got the weapons around you. What can you do with them? And he's so far through 2 games, he's definitely shown an improvement from last year. So
even Jalen Hurts type guy, like it's all on you now. Let's see what you have.
Yeah, there's quite a few scenarios like that. But
because they got the picks too, if I'm not mistaken, from the Seattle. They have a first round pick from Seattle, if I'm not mistaken, for the corner, the safety, the big safety name. I can't think of his name.
Jamal Adams?
Yeah, Adams.
Yeah, maybe. Who is out for the season, funny enough. Yeah, so the Dolphins are looking like they might be in a little bit of quarterback trouble. They don't have Tua. They don't have Teddy Bridgewater. Neither one of them, obviously, are ready to come out of concussion protocol just yet. So this is an interesting development. We'll see whether Skylar Thompson's playing quarterback for them week 6 or not. But the next game is the Steelers versus the Bills. Kenny Pickett looked terrible as projected. So since we expected him to look terrible, I'm going to say he didn't look that bad compared to expectation. Nobody was really expecting anything from Kenny Pickett. This is a tough defense. This is the number 1 defense for the last 20 weeks of the regular season or something like that. And the Bills just came in here and punched them in the mouth, and the Steelers just don't have the firepower or the answers. There was no upset this year like there was last year. I mean, the first 3rd and 10, they got Josh Allen doing a 7-step drop in his own end zone and firing a 98-yard touchdown to Gabe Davis, who I don't know how you're Minka Fitzpatrick and you let Gabe Davis get behind you like that, but that one play right there basically said everything about the game. Josh Allen doing a 7-step drop in his own end zone and throwing a 55-yard missile down the middle of the field to Gabe Davis right on the numbers.
He did that twice for a 60-yard one too, right?
Yeah, the Steelers were not ready for this football game. They were wildly unprepared. And I think with each passing game, I genuinely believe that if the Steelers finish below 500, Mike Tomlin is on his way out the door. I feel like that the Steelers have just kind of been waiting for this one season for him to finish under 500, because it would be super weird to fire a coach after 15 consecutive winning seasons. So I think that franchise needs to go in a different direction. I'm not saying Mike Tomlin's a bad coach by any stretch of the imagination. Andy Reid is a fantastic coach, but his time was up in Philadelphia. Sometimes you just got to move on.
Exactly. Look what Andy Reid doing at Kansas City now. And Mike Tomlin can be a great coach. Let's see. The Panthers get fired their head coach, Matt Rule.
Steve Wilkes has taken over for Carolina. I don't know if that was publicly announced or whatnot, but
yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah, he went 3-13 as a head coach in Arizona in 2012 for one season, and then he was fired. So
yeah, I definitely see Mike Tomlin going somewhere else to coach.
Yeah, but we're going to jump into the Seahawks versus the Saints. Bill and I got this one right. Tim, you got this one wrong. I think – oh, no, the Jets game was the first one that wasn't uniform. But, yeah, Tim, so the Seahawks – I mean, it's Kenneth Walker season out here, baby. Rashad Penny's out for the season, so –
broken fibula. That gotta hurt.
Penny's career is over. I mean, I was a big Rashad Penny guy, but truthfully, as talented as he is, he can't stay healthy.
Yeah. Look, Gina playing out of his mind right now. That defense has got a hole for him, really. And now he got I think Kenneth Walker is the better running back than Rashad Penny. And they got a better pass catching back in Kenneth Walker. So they can utilize him a little bit more. But that defense really got to step up, in my opinion.
The Seahawks are almost exactly like the Lions this year. It's like, we're just going to try and outscore you, and if that doesn't happen, we're not going to win, whatever.
Exactly.
Look, there's a couple quarterbacks right now, and we talk about next year with, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, Cade McCall, I think his first name is. There's a bunch of quarterback prospects that everybody's high on. There's a couple of dudes in the NFL fighting for jobs right now, playing very well. I'm looking at you, Geno Smith and Cooper Rush.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about Cooper Rush in a minute, but Geno Smith, it's balling, man. He's making the right decisions. That defense is not helping him out, and it is what it is.
Not at all, man. That's just the way that the team is. So, and we all kind of knew this. I said this on our preseason show that outside of quarterback, the Seahawks don't really have like a bad roster.
Yeah.
I mean, on the defensive side of the ball, they do. They're atrocious, but like you look at Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, they had two very viable running backs. That's not an offense that generally uses a lot of tight end work anyway, so I wasn't too concerned about it. But they have two very good receivers, two very good running backs. That wasn't a bad offense. So Geno was in the right place.
At the right time.
Turning over to the Saints, though, no Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
They still get it done. Everybody kind of goes, okay, whatever, to Winston. Andy Dalton is a guy that's been to the playoffs 5 times in his career as a full-time starter. So, granted, he's never won a playoff game, but that's probably more to do with Marv Lewis than anything else. So, Dalton's a good backup. He's going to win you football games. Alvin Kamara finally looked healthy. Chris Olave is a beast, although he went out in the fourth quarter.
Man, he got drilled. I don't know how that wasn't a flag.
He did get laid out.
He did
the 2000s football fan in me was like, damn, that was a nice hit. I'm glad that wasn't a flag. But then like the 2022 sports analyzer in me was like, that's kind of weird that wasn't a flag.
Exactly. Like I said, nice hit. And then what was the flag? He got blown up, which up and everything. Like he didn't move for a second.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because Chris Olave is having a very good season.
Absolutely.
Found got the right landing spot in New Orleans. And hopefully Jameis Winston's back next week, though. Hopefully Michael Thomas comes back. Like I said, Alvin Kamara looks like he's finally ready to take shape. So we'll see where that Saints offense is going. But their defense is never – Timothy Hawkins says Saints defense isn't terrible. The Saints defense was never terrible. Especially now with Dennis Allen still there. The Saints always have a good defense, easily top 10 in the NFL year after year. Next game, we got the Titans and the Commanders. Tim, what the hell were you thinking picking the Commanders?
Man, I thought they would get bounced back. The Titans had to impress me, man. They still haven't impressed me.
I don't think they impressed anybody when they went 12-5 and were the number 1 seed last year.
The biggest thing – I don't know, man. Carson Wentz almost pulled it out there, but everyone's blaming him. I mean, yeah, he didn't make the right read, but you had a timeout left, and you had a decent running back in. Why would not try run the ball? You know what I'm saying? Like it was, I think, second and goal on like the 1 yard line. They went for 4 straight pass plays.
Look, I don't. There's no way that you can convince me that the Commanders' biggest problems are even with Carson Wentz. Yeah, he's not playing his best brand of football. He's absolutely not playing that bad, though. Not even at all. Ron Rivera is starting to look like a really bad head coach, in all honesty. He looks like he's kind of riding the coattails of a 2015 Super Bowl appearance with the Carolina Panthers. He was a fantastic defensive coordinator and specialist under Andy Reid, actually. But I don't think that Ron Rivera is just a good coach. Like he's not a good leader of people. His comments post-game says everything you need to know about him. When the reporter asked him what's the difference between the Commanders and the rest of the NFC East, and he goes quarterback right away. No, man, you can't say stuff like that. When you're winning, it's we. When you're losing, it's I. That's the number one rule you got to think about when you're in a post-game interview. If you're winning, it's we did it as a team. If you're losing, it's I have to be better. And that's that. It's called accountability. That was mind-blowing when he said that. That right there should have gotten him fired, truthfully. But you don't throw a quarterback under the bus like that, or really anybody. But it's Ron Rivera to me. Ron Rivera is the big problem in Washington. If he makes it through the year, this will be his last year.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like you said, Carson Wentz is fantasy quarterback number 11. Like that's still a quarterback 1 type caliber quarterback. Like,
and fantasy doesn't always translate to real life. Like Carson Wentz has thrown some pretty bad interceptions this year, but he's moving the football for this team. So that's just weird. I know Brian Robinson. We got to talk about it. Brian Robinson made his appearance as the first NFL start debut. Out-touched Antonio Gibson. 9 carries for 22 yards. I expect better days for him. I expect him to get more involved. He's a very complete running back, and it's kind of a miracle that he's back this fast, so good for that young man. Hopefully we see a little bit more out of him, except for when he plays against the Eagles.
I agree with that. Great for him to come back so early. He didn't look bad either, to be honest.
No, he actually looked
everything going.
For a guy that got shot in the leg twice, he looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to move on from that game. A lot to talk about the next game, 49ers at Panthers. Nobody was stupid enough to pick the Panthers this week. Matt Rule obviously got the axe yesterday. So, Tim, you want to talk about the Panthers here for a little bit? What's going on in Carolina?
I mean, obviously with the coaching, because Baker wasn't terrible in Cleveland, to be honest. He wasn't terrible. So, like, it got to be the coaching that play schemes and everything like that. Your play schemes have to involve Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore. Like, they have to be involved. Your best 2 players on the field. And DJ Moore barely seeing 8 targets a game. Christian McCaffrey only seeing 5 and doing what he best can. Yeah, he's getting 18 carries. Don't get me wrong, that's good for him. But the offensive line isn't that good, so he's not breaking out for any big runs or anything like that. Baker Mayfield hurt his ankle now, so they're going to a backup quarterback again.
High ankle sprain. He's out 4 to 6 weeks.
So hopefully P.J. Walker had a couple good games, and maybe we won't see Baker again. Who knows?
I don't think that we will, truthfully. I think that P.J. Walker will play until Sam Darnold comes back, and then Sam Darnold will take over.
Okay, I like that. But
Timothy Hawkins asks, is Bosa out? I'm assuming he's referring to Nick. Yeah, he injured his groin in the first quarter against the Panthers this past weekend, so he might miss some time. Man, that dude's a freak of nature. He's such an athlete. Him and his brother, but neither one of them can stay healthy. Yeah, the Panthers coaching schemes just don't align with their personnel, truthfully. I don't know what kind of offense they're trying to run. I don't know what direction they want it to go. But it seems like that they're almost using their best players as decoys rather than just getting them the football. Christian McCaffrey can make so much happen in space. DJ Moore's been one of the best possession and run after catch guys in the NFL for the last 3 years. So to just completely neglect or barely involve these guys at all is criminal. And I think that with PJ Walker coming in, the game plan gets a little simpler. So maybe they do just get those guys the football. That's what needs to happen for this team to be successful.
I mean, that's what happened last year when he became the starter. They break it down into, Chris McCaffrey wasn't now, so Chubbard, however you say his name, and DJ Moore, like, they got the hyper targets. They ran the ball nonstop, and they made a game plan for DJ Moore to get open easily. And look, they didn't do bad with PJ Walker in the offense, so hopefully they do it again. I need DJ Moore to start doing some things.
Yeah, I covered my ass with DJ Moore. The 49ers are a good football team. They're showing why they're going to keep heading in the right direction. Obviously, as long as Kyle Shanahan's there, they'll have an elite offense. They were just a better team. The Panthers never stood a chance. They were completely outmatched. Next one, Cowboys versus Rams. Tim, on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you for the Rams?
1 million.
Yeah.
That offensive line is in shambles, man. Like, they can't protect Matt Stafford at all. If they're not running quick screen to Tyler Higbee or to the running backs, they don't have enough time for Cooper Kupp to get down the field and make a big play like he did. Fortunately, he did in that game for a 70-yard touchdown catch. But I think it was off of a 5-yard slant, and he avoided tackles. But they need to figure that offensive line out and help Matt Stafford out before they do anything else.
Yeah, the offensive line right there is is the key. I mean, Cam Akers isn't running the football well. Part of that's probably attributed to him coming off the Achilles tear 2 years ago. But yeah, Stafford just has no time to do anything. He can't drop back to the football. They're really missing Andrew Whitworth on that blind side for Matt Stafford right now, who obviously retired, and he has a booth position now. So I just think that until the Rams' offensive line gets right, that they're going to continue to have problems, and that'll unfortunately probably not be addressed till the offseason. I could very well see the Rams finishing below 500. Ultimately, I could see them finishing 9-8, maybe 10-7, just because of the talent that they have at skill positions, the coaching that they have. But that offensive line is a major problem for the Rams right now. They can't get anything done. So
let's hop to the other side real quick. Cooper Rush, man, they're running the ball very well right now. The offensive line are doing everything they can to protect Cooper Rush and running the ball pretty decently. But that Dallas defense is something else, man.
I've said it, man. The Dallas defense is a good defense. Yeah, I got this Eagles flag behind me. Go Birds. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys and say that the Cowboys defense sucks. That would be bad of me as not an announcer, but as a podcaster. They're just so good. They're deep everywhere. DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons. I mean, Trayvon Diggs isn't getting beat all over the field this year. They have good linebackers. They have solid pieces at every level of the defense.
So I think
they are a very, very good defense.
I think Parsons is hurt. Groin injury, maybe an ankle injury. No, I didn't see big of it, but still, I guess that somehow, some way, they're making it work. Good for them. And
Timothy Hawkins says Dan Quinn. I'm not even going to say it's Dan Quinn. They just have talent on the defense. Yeah. I mean, good coaching helps, obviously, but they're a talented group on the defense. So they worry me a little bit. A little bit they worry me. And truthfully, they are not that in a vacuum he's better, but they are a better football team with Cooper Rush than they are Dak Prescott.
Yes.
Because of the style offense that they run and the way that Cooper Rush manages the offense, they are a better football team with Cooper Rush than Dak Prescott, and they will be.
Yes.
Dak Prescott tries to use his ability to make plays happen that sometimes aren't there, and Cooper Rush just simply takes what's given to him. So
I absolutely agree with that one.
Yeah, I don't think that Cooper's the better quarterback, but right now he's fighting for a job next year. So we'll see how that pans out, and we'll see which quarterback we get on Sunday night. Like I said, we'll talk about that in our prediction show on Friday. Eagles and Cardinals. Tim, you were the only one that picked the Eagles, and I know that you were sweating about that the whole time because, man, they look terrible.
God, what's up with them not scoring in the second half of the games? Like the Arizona Cardinals made great halftime adjustments, and the Eagles aren't. Like they keep the same game plan going out there in the second half. And defensive coordinator, what that defensive coordinator?
John Gannon.
Yeah, Gannon is. Why did he start going to soft zone now? Like that's when Kyle Murray started running all of us. While Keith Brown started catching more passes. Rondell Moore started getting more passes like that.
Now, I can sympathize a little bit with running more zone than man when you have a mobile quarterback, because when you're running man, what generally happens is the entire defense has the back turn to the quarterback, and that means the quarterback can run a little bit more if you think about it, whereas zone, you're reading the quarterback and making moves off of that. But this defense just isn't built to play zone. Go ahead, put a spy in the middle. Let TJ Edwards spy Kyler Murray. Take him out of coverage. I don't care.
That's what he did in the first quarter, and Kyler Murray didn't run the ball once.
But yeah, the second halves are concerning. And now the Eagles have had some troubling second halves in terms of scoring points, but the Cardinals have been a second half team this year. I mean, they made a 23-point comeback against the Raiders. They had a good second half against the Rams. They've been a second half team this year, so that's more so their strength. I just don't think – I think other teams are adjusting to the Eagles, and the Eagles aren't making the adjustments that they need to. Or they're just trying to outsmart opponents. They're trying to make all these weird adjustments because they expect opponents to adjust to them, and it's just not happening. Man, you have a great offensive line. Just keep running the ball and getting the ball in the hands of your playmakers on the outside. It's not a difficult concept. Do it until they stop you. Don't stop you for them.
Exactly. Like I don't understand the quarterbacks makes that they did like 4 quarterback sneaks in a row to get Jalen Hurts in the end zone, which is fine. He got the touchdown. But why not you do a dime package, have an extra offensive lineman in there, Miles Sanders behind them, and run the damn ball right into them? Like, they're not going to stop it.
I wouldn't do it with Sanders. I'd probably do it with Gainwell. Sanders is a little small, but
still, you know what I mean? Like, you have running backs for a reason.
If I'm the Eagles and I'm like in a situation like that and the quarterback sneak doesn't work twice, I'm rolling Jalen Hurts out. I'm giving him the option, look, run or throw it to big-ass A.J. Brown or big-ass Dallas Goedert, or just run it in yourself. Give him the option to do something, you know?
Yeah, that's a good play action too.
Yeah, just do something different, though. Don't run the same play 4 times in a row. Anyway, Eagles get the win. Still the only 5-0 team. And as we've touched on before, it's really hard to win on the road. So good win for them. They got the Cowboys coming into Philadelphia next weekend. Sunday night game, another actually decent game, at least in the second half. The first half was a snooze fest. This, you know what? It wasn't a decent game. I'm not going to sit here and say it was a decent game. This game was pathetic. Why are you in multiple short yardage situations, both teams, but I'm specifically looking at the Ravens? And in the fourth quarter, both running backs are averaging 5.5 yards a carry, and we've got 3rd and 2s, 4th and 1s, and they're just dropping back and throwing incomplete passes and turning the ball over to each other and having a punt. And what the hell is going on here? You are the Baltimore Ravens. You are built to run the football. That is what you do. Turn around and hand that thing off to J.K. Dobbins. There's no reason that he only gets 9 touches in a game. I know he's coming back from an ACL injury. He just got 15 touches last week. He's fine. Give him the football on a short yardage situation to help you ice the game. Bengals. Joe Burrow obviously is still figuring some things out. They haven't gotten the same kind of explosive plays. Turn around and hand the football off to Joe Mixon, please. When you have offensive line problems and you have cohesion issues like the Bengals have had for the first few weeks, let them fire off the ball and hit the opposing D linemen instead of having to drop back and pass protection the whole time, because that's when you screw up communications. Just fire at the other team. It's not really a difficult concept, but for some reason they just want to let their quarterbacks do the thing. Look, Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, absolutely good quarterbacks. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're not good quarterbacks. But even good quarterbacks don't have great games all the time. You got to make the game plan adjustments. Run the football. Open up the offense a little bit.
Oh, man, you took the words right out of my mouth. Let them run the football, man. There's no reason why, even with any other game this season I've seen, there's multiple games when there's 4th and 1, 3rd and 2, and for instance, the Chargers-Brown game, you had a 4th and 2. Why not give it to Austin Eckler,
man?
Why not give it to Austin Eckler, who had the 170 yards on the damn ground already?
Yeah. If your running back is averaging 5.5 yards a carry and you only need 2, the math tells me that he's going to get it by about 3.5 yards. So
give him the ball. Let them run the damn ball.
We're just really overcomplicating football, I guess, here. That's pretty crazy to me. Then, speaking of really, really bad coaching decisions, we're going into the Monday night game where the Chiefs win 30-29 because on a 4th and 1 play, Derek Carr hits Devontae Adams beautifully in stride for a 48-yard touchdown. And then Josh McDaniels, with about 3.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, decides to go for 2 instead of kicking the extra point. And obviously they don't get it.
Maybe he thought
I just don't think he wants to be a head coach. He's just going to give the ownership over there, Mark Davis, any reason to fire him. That's my take on that. But
maybe he thought his defense couldn't hold Patrick Mahomes or something. But still, it don't make any sense. Kick the extra point. You have a good kicker. He's not going to miss it from that close. That was man. But let's talk about Patrick Mahomes. That Chiefs offense didn't look great in the first quarter anyway. Second quarter, they started picking it up. Travis Kelce, 4 touchdowns.
Travis Kelce didn't even have a usual Travis Kelce game. He only had 35 yards receiving.
Get 4 touchdowns really helped him.
Yeah. But no, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a non-factor. Let's talk about Josh Jacobs for a second, because there's probably no happier person on the face of the earth that the Raiders declined his fifth-year option outside of Josh Jacobs.
He's having 5.5 yards to carry?
Yeah, he's having just career numbers all over the place, man. He's catching balls out of the backfield, running the ball efficiently. He's going to get paid in the offseason. The Raiders might have made a mistake here.
Definitely, absolutely, man. There's no reason why. He's running the ball great. The first couple of weeks he was slow at the slow start, but the last 3 weeks, man, he's been busting out, getting the yards, catching the passes. Like, the Raiders made a huge mistake, and I hope he goes to the Chiefs and beat the Raiders every year now.
That would actually be pretty funny. I don't think it was a huge mistake. I do think it was a mistake, but Josh Jacobs wasn't like wowing anybody his first 3 years in Vegas. Like he wasn't doing anything, spectacular. But I don't know what the cap hit would have been had they picked up his fifth-year option. But I think at this point they kind of realized that maybe we screwed this one up. So maybe they're just expecting this incoming running back class that's supposed to be really good to just be better than Jacobs and cheaper. So I don't know. There's got to be a thought process behind that. But either way, Josh McDaniels does not look like he is an NFL coach. I forgot, he was kind of carried by Tim Tebow mania over there years ago.
Before we hop over to the Phillies, who plays Thursday night?
It's the Bears and the Commanders, dude. It's going to be another excellent primetime game.
Shit, man.
I know, dude. Oh, this game's God. Oh, hey. But hey, man, we get the Broncos again next Monday night.
Oh,
dude.
Man.
Oh, jeez.
I guess I'm gonna.
The NFL at this point needs to start flexing some of these the teams that still need to hit their primetime quota. Fine, whatever. The Broncos have been on primetime. They've covered their quota. Get them the hell out of the primetime slot, please.
Who are you taking for this game?
I'm taking the Commanders, man. The Bears are still one of 3 teams that I'm not picking. It's the Colts, the Panthers, and the Bears. Like I'm not. Those teams could play each other, and I'm just going to guess that they're going to tie.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go. I'm taking the Commanders. We'll get Bill's pick and put it in for official document later.
God, dude, that's going to be an embarrassing game. I'm probably not going to watch it. In all honesty, I'll probably be playing.
For damn sure we're playing Apex.
I'll be playing Apex. I ain't watching that game. Yeah. So, in some really, really positive news, Phillies 7-6 victory over the Braves here. A little bit scary in the 9th inning. Tim, what did you make of the whole game? I know you couldn't watch the whole game, but
actually, believe it or not, the website Bill gave me really helped me out. And
I know it's only about 2 pitches behind usually. That's the website I use.
And I hid from my boss, so he couldn't find me.
Isn't Ryan a Phillies fan anyway?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's trying to get some people, so I really can't say nothing. But Rangel Suarez didn't have it. I don't know why they started him.
Man, imagine that. I think I sat here on this show and everybody else's show and bitched about how Ranger Suarez was going to start game 3. What an embarrassment.
Absolute embarrassment, man. And now all of our fucking relievers are tired. They pitch from the 3rd inning on. Like, we got Noah Syndergaard now tomorrow. We can't use Sir Anthony Dominguez. He pitched over 19 pitches. We have Alvarado. He's only pitched 7.
It's the playoffs. If they need him, Sir Anthony's going. Like that's.
You're right. But you yelled at me earlier for saying this, but Zach Eflin is not a closer, in my opinion, man.
I didn't yell at nobody. I said he was doing fine.
He was. I'm not saying he wasn't, but.
Here's the reality of the situation, right? If this is a night game, the Phillies win 7-3.
You think the shadow had a big deal with it?
No. If it's a night game, and what I mean by that is, as a former pitcher, I always hated day games. Why? The ball carries like 50 feet further in day games. I mean, if you looked at everybody's reaction in that stadium, you look at Olsen, you look at the way Marsh chased the ball, you look at Eflin, you look at Realmuto, At a night game, that's a fly out probably 25 feet in front of the track. That ball doesn't carry that far. Everybody was shocked that ball got out of there. Also, it was not a good pitch, but Olsen didn't get all of it. And the two batters before that, Acuna beat out an infield single.
He's so quick.
Yeah, and Dansby Swanson hit a really good pitch that was down and away.
And Castellanos made a good play to keep him at first.
Yeah, Castellanos made a fantastic throw. But
and then he made a fantastic catch in the next batter.
Now, ultimately, I don't think Eflin should be closing, but he in theory made one bad pitch the whole inning. But even that, if this is a night game, it's a 7-3 ball game and it's wrapped up there. But or it'd be 7-4 because that would have been a sac fly. But 7-4 game, not as high stress. And I've seen it all over Twitter. This does need to happen. Alvarado and Sir Anthony need to be your back end guys because they're obviously your best relief pitchers going into the postseason. Whatever lefties are due up, you mix and match the order there. You can sprinkle Hand there in the back end too, because I like Hand as much as some Phillies fans probably don't. Talking to him 5 says Eflin pitched terribly. Stop it. He's not a pitcher. He doesn't understand that. That's just a no context statement. He made one bad pitch the whole inning. That's fine. It is what it is.
So I heard a fun fact during that game. The Braves, if they had more than 10 walks, what they did, they are 15-2, and they lost today. So, hey, that's good.
The whole pitching staff really just, can't throw. They were just not throwing strikes. Outside of Alvarado and Sir Anthony, who fortunately will probably need to be the only two that need to be used. But God, man, what I sat here and complained about it for months that Ranger Suarez is not your number 3 starter. He's not. Right. He's got no postseason experience. I think this year was the first time he made a start in September his entire career because he's never made it into September. He's never even been a full-time starter before this year. That was Falter's start, in all honesty. They really screwed that one up because Bailey Falter was your best pitcher over the last 6 weeks. They really screwed that one up. That was the stupidest decision. And then when the rumors started leaking that Syndergaard was going to get game 2, I was like, we don't care. We're not taking this seriously. The way the pitching staff is being mishandled is embarrassing. Ranger Suarez is not your number 3 starter. That was Bailey Falter's start. The offense has finally come alive. It looks like the Cardinals poked the bear and woke up Bryce Harper, which in turn might have woken up October Castellanos, which is, that big talking 2-on-5 saying. Those guys have been saying that forever. So speaking of talking 2-on-5, they say Eflin needs to be moved into the role that Brogdon had today. If the starter gets bounced early, he's the next guy up. Leave it at that. In a vacuum, I would agree, but Eflin's probably not stretched out enough to do that role. So, unfortunately, it's probably going to be Gibson or Syndergaard that does that. I would probably rather prefer Syndergaard. Gibson has just been atrocious this year. And then they also say Falter will need to be the game 4 starter. Absolutely, if it goes to 4 games. This game changed my prediction on the rest of the season. I don't think this game goes 4 games.
Yeah, it definitely changes mine. I said Braves in 5, but I'm taking Phils in 3. You got Will on the mound tomorrow, and he's looked phenomenal against the St. Louis Cardinals. So hopefully he can pull it out again. But he needs to go more than 7 innings, in my opinion. Even more than 6 innings, but he only pitched 6.
Logan Stone comes out and says Ryan Howard said he's coming out of retirement to play first base for the rest of the series. Hey, I'm okay with that because up until his hit today, Rhys Hoskins has been complete dog shit. I would rather play first base than him.
0 for 25.
Yeah, no. This is just one of those Hoskins cold streaks that we've been waiting on all season. We knew it was bound to happen. It just happened in the playoffs. Just move him down the lineup until he can start seeing pitches better again. It's not that big a deal when you got Real Muto swinging the bat well. Harper's coming back. Castellanos had a good game. Stott, for whatever God reason. I know Sosa had a good game at the plate today, but Stott has been hitting the ball well when he plays. Segura's putting the ball in play. there's other guys that can do the job. It's fine that Reese gets moved down in the order. It's not a big deal. Like just
exactly. So talking 215 said, what are your thoughts about the
putrid start times? Look, I just don't think the MLB cares about this series, if I'm being honest with you. Like, I just don't think they care about the Phillies, which is really weird because the Braves are your returning World Series champs. So you think you'd want to advertise them in your primetime slots, but the game times are atrocious. And I talked about this on a show with Logan Stone yesterday. The AL is getting so hooked up compared to the NL. I don't know if you have seen the playoff schedule yet, Tim. So everybody played game 1 today.
Mm-hmm.
Then the AL has off tomorrow, whereas the NL plays. And then the NL has off and the AL plays. And then the AL is off again. So they go every other day. They have an entirely extra day of rest compared to the NL in this series. And that is some bullshit, man.
So you don't think that's going to change for the NLCS?
I mean, does it matter if it does?
And I mean, it's terrible. Don't get me wrong. It's absolutely terrible. But I also think if Friday's a clinched game, they might push that back to prime time.
No. Once the times are announced, they don't flex the times like that.
Okay.
Because then Garrett Cole would complain about how first pitch didn't start at exactly 7:05. It's 7:08, and Joe Torre's out here wasting my time because he's a crybaby. But anyway, Logan kind of did that to me yesterday. I was like, damn, I remember that game where he was bitching about it didn't start on time. So that's why he gave up 6 runs or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, the start times are atrocious, especially because after the first day, the NL and the AL are split up. So there's no reason to be putting these games at these weird times anyway. It just doesn't make – there's not a whole lot of sense being made on, especially because when the Vegas lines opened, and I know that the MLB says they don't care about it, this was the closest series in terms of like upset odds. So I don't – to me, this is all weird. I don't like the way that the MLB is scheduling this. However, as long as the Phillies keep winning, I don't care. Logan Stone says ALDS has game 4 and 5 back-to-back days, so the Astros and Mariners would play game 4 in Seattle and then play game 5 in Houston the next day. What the fuck? See, I'm okay. Like, I'm weirdly okay with that, though, because it's not like one team is traveling and the other team isn't. Like, both teams have to travel from Seattle to Houston overnight. You know what I'm saying? So, like, there's no real advantage in terms of that, but –
So apparently Houston came back in game 1 and won 8-7.
Yeah, I saw that. That's crazy, dude.
Yes.
Houston, Seattle to Seattle.
That's crazy.
But I mean, hey, Seattle's young, hungry. That's a good team right there. They're really motivated and they got all the momentum in the world. So the DS should shake out to be really interesting. Do you have any closing thoughts, Tim, before we get the hell out of here?
Hey, good luck to the fellas tomorrow. Let's see what we all got.
Yep. One more thing.
Red October, baby.
Red October, baby, is back. It is back. All right. From BSing Sports, check us out, www.bsingsports.com. Talking 215, who was active in the comments. They're, I guess, our child podcast. I don't know what to call you guys, so I'm sorry if that was a little demeaning. But, yeah, check them out, Talking 215. They're everywhere we are. Yeah, man. Facebook, Spotify, YouTube. We're not on Instagram. I almost said that. We're definitely not on Instagram. None of us are good look, nothing to be there. So go Phils, go Birds. It was a really bad weekend to be a Cardinal, and it's going to be an awful weekend to be a Cowboy. Signing out.